This is a 1997 Honda Accord, and someone had converted the car stereo to an aftermarket, which has been removed. Okay, this is all that's left of the stereo. In fact, the original wires have been cut off, and so we're going to have to patch in a new plug. I've gone to the junkyard and bought an original equipment radio, removed it myself with the bracket, and matched up the plug that's necessary for this car. You can check the information regarding year and model in the door, and so you know it's compatible. Now it's just a matter of these wires. I cut this out of the junkyard car. Now these color-coded wires just need to be reattached. These are wire strippers. Each wire is color-coded. Before we can reattach to the wires in the car, we need to strip these wires back to expose the bare metal. You can see these are two that I've done already, and so forth for the rest of them. The wire stripper has various sizes for different thicknesses of wire. This particular size is the 20 or 22. That's the gauge of the wire. The smallest size connection that was available for sale at Home Depot is this. It's for 18. It's not quite small enough, but I think it will work, and we're going to try it. Now I'm going to put these wire connectors on each one of these stripped wires and do the identical attachment procedure on the other end to reconnect to the wires in the car, and the radio should be working after that. The end of the pliers has a crimp. This says for 22 to 14 gauge right there. It's a nice tight fitting. Looks like it'll work just fine. I have all the connectors on but the last one now. And since they're not quite the right size, I've double crimped each one. Just as all the others, twist the wires together to thread it through the hole more easily. Hold it in place. And you can see the crimping sizes are labeled. Probably could have gotten the right size at Radio Shack or someplace like that that deals with smaller wire. Okay, that's it. Now it's just a matter of preparing the wire in the same identical fashion inside the car and reattaching the plug so that the radio can be connected properly. The way these wires were left, I actually could have connected into these existing connection points, but all these other wires hanging out are going to create a possible short or some other problem. So I want to eliminate this mess and just start fresh with a clean wire to go into the connectors I put on the other end of the wire. So I'm going to cut each of these off, leaving it as much as possible. Okay, last one. Now, this is not really sticking out far enough to easily work on, so what I'm going to do is remove this plastic cover to get a little better accessibility. Cut. Okay, looks like there's a tab that goes from this black plastic piece underneath the center console. So we're going to remove the center console. This piece of plastic just popped out from the bottom part of the container. And there's a screw there. Should be two, but the other one's missing. The other one should go right there, it looks like. Okay, so that's out. Now the cup holder, another screw here. Looks like there's some coffee spill there. Okay, one last screw here. It's going to come right out. Okay, the first two screws I found for the black plastic piece were hidden underneath the console. So it looks like we definitely had to take that out to get access to these screws. Okay, let's see what happens when we lift up on this. Looks like there may actually be one more screw somewhere. Let's get a flashlight, look around. Okay, so looking around, there it is, underneath the ashtray. One last screw. That screw's kind of deep in there. I'm either going to have to grab it with needle nose pliers or a magnet. Let's try the magnet. And there we go. There we have it. So let's see if this will come all the way out now. Okay, so I need to get the key for a moment. Go. Okay. I needed the key in order to move the shifter back. I could have pushed the shift lock release, but it seems easier just to use the key. And out it comes. Okay. Couple of connectors here. Push button release. Push button release. And one more. Actually, I think we can just set this aside. Let it hang. Oh, there we go. Another release. Now we can put this someplace safe. Okay, after inspecting this a little more closely, it looks to me like all of this stuff is part of the aftermarket apparatus, so I'm going to remove this plastic piece as well, because this is obviously different than the bracket from the existing radio I bought from the junkyard. And by the way, what I did was I went to a junkyard that allows you to take off your own parts, so I could see how it all began. It was very helpful to do that first. Okay, now back to stripping wires. Okay, all the connections have been completed except this last one here. And you can see it's an awkward place to work, but not impossible. I'm double crimping these just like I did the other end. For some reason, there's one extra wire. Hopefully it's superfluous and not needed. I'm going to plug in the stereo and see if it works without it. There's another wire back here we'll need as well somewhere. Here it is. This is the antenna. Okay, let's plug it in and see if it works. Okay, so now I'm going to turn on the key and see if it works. Seems to work just fine. Okay, so now we'll turn the key off and try to put everything back together and bundle the wires a little more neatly and finish it up. And I removed the original equipment type radio from the car at the junkyard. There was a plastic compartment box that was also attached to it. One screw on each side. I put that back on. Now let's see if it slides into place. Looks like a perfect fit. There are two bolts that go into the bottom, and we'll put the cover back on, and that should be it. The two bolts can be tightened by either using a Phillips head screwdriver or an 8mm socket. Okay, so the radio is in place now. The two screws are tightened and it's fairly solid. I've fished the two connectors around from the top. They just snap back into place. Actually, let's get the cigarette lighter connected first. Only goes in one way. Now the other two. Okay, so now we're finished. The cover went over the radio and helped hold it in place more firmly, and everything was reinstalled just in the exact reverse order that it came apart. That's all there is to it.